Hey y'all, what's up? Chris here. So I've been wanting to share my birth story and I'm finally ready to do that. So here I am, and this is, just for those who might be curious about birth stories or want some insight or thinking about becoming a mother or about to become a mother or are a mother. I know with my first child, who is now 2 years old, I had a lot of insecurity around my birth because of the way it happened. And this time around, I just taught myself to become a lot more confident because, I already experienced the first round. Hit me with that second round. So first off, I just want to say my first, just to keep it simple with my first birth story, I did have a C-section. It was identified as an emergency C-section because I had low amniotic fluid, and well, I was 40 weeks and I came into the hospital here in Atlanta and they said that I had low amniotic fluid again. What do you know? Well, the level was actually higher than the previous because the first birth they said that I had no amniotic fluid at all, which caused them to do all the rest, and how it led to a C-section. But with this time around, I decided to not take their recommendation and actually go home and try some natural induction processes before I decided to go the hospital's route. And so I decided to leave, and I gave myself kind of a time limit of okay, let me give it 2 days. Let me try these different routes and see what happens. So I had already been, doing some prenatal yoga, some different poses to help me get into the state of either activating contractions or just dilating or just getting comfortable with that gooch area that would be stretched out so much during the actual birth. So yeah, they recommended me the induction. I went home, and so I tried some different routes recommended to me by my doula, who is my virtual doula. Shout out to Kelly. She gave me a lot of advice and holistic advice and just guidance, and she was there for me when I had all the questions. So thank you, Kelly. Shout out to you. And so yeah, I tried different natural routes, including prenatal yoga, like I said, and also primrose oil and red raspberry leaf, which I was already taking. Primrose oil allows for a healthy delivery as well as just an overall healthy vaginal health. I said health 5 times, sorry. So I did that, just really getting into the zone. I'm right by the train station. But as I was saying, so I tried those different routes. Nothing was really happening. And so the last resort that I was going to go to, I know I'm missing one induction. I'll put it in the text when I'm editing this video. So I tried castor oil. And, if you know about castor oil, you know about castor oil. It doesn't work for everybody. It is there's different factors that you need to take into consideration before even consuming castor oil, because it could be potentially dangerous. But I was already past my due date, so I was already ready to set on birth. And so, like I was saying, for some, consuming castor oil, I started with, I believe I did 2 tablespoons. The average recommended dose is 3 tablespoons. And so it could either do one of 2 things. It could onset birth, or it could just cause you hella diarrhea. I got diarrhea, I'm not gonna lie. But I was really hoping that it would onset it, because what it basically will do is lubricate that whole down area and act as a smoother to welcome the baby to onset contractions and get birth going. But it didn't do that for me, unfortunately. But luckily my baby was still safe, and I just kept praying and having faith that I was going to have the delivery that I wanted, which was a vaginal birth. So 2 days passed, none of these natural routes were working, and then I went back to the hospital because, considering my last birth, I just wanted to be on the safe side. Of course, I would love to have a home birth. I would love to have done it with a holistic midwife here at home. Unfortunately, I didn't plan properly, and so that didn't happen. But also considering that of my previous history, I would have just like logically felt a bit more secure in a hospital, for the reason that if there was an emergency, the tools are available immediately. So again, they wanted to induce me when I came back in, which was 2 days later, and so that did happen. But I wanted to go the most natural induction possible to start with. We first started the induction process with a Foley bulb, and so what that is actually a small balloon that they insert to past your uterus. So first it is not blown up, but when they put it past your uterus, then they start to fill it with saline solution to expand the ball. And what that basically is doing is expanding your vaginal canal so that your baby can go through it. And so when it hits 3 centimeters, because the Foley bulb only expands to 3 centimeters, when it hits 3 centimeters, then it falls out. And that will have you at either 3 centimeters or more. So that was extremely painful. It was very painful because any induction is going to be painful because it is artificially starting your birth. It is not naturally occurring. It is inducing you, like, let me do this. Psh. And that's not the route that I wanted to go. I sometimes even feel a little insecure about that, like, damn, I wonder if I could have just waited and would something have happened. But considering I had some complications the first round, I just really wanted to have that vaginal birth. So I was like, okay, like, I looked up the like success rate of the Foley bulb and the success rate of everything else that they were about to like give me or recommend to me, and I wanted to be fully aware. I also communicated these recommendations to my doula, and you know, we just made decisions to where it felt right for me, what I felt would be the next step in the birth. So the Foley bulb, it got me to 3 centimeters. The nurse came, they took it out for me, and at that point I'm 4 centimeters. Already in a lot of pain. Like, from there, because I want to do the most natural route, so I didn't want, like, they will recommend you Pitocin, but I wanted that to be the last thing that I touch. So they break my water next. And when they break your water, they're basically releasing the amniotic fluid from the sac of where the baby is. And they say that it's highly recommended. You have to have the baby under 24 hours to prevent an infection or meconium, which is basically poop that the baby would consume because of the lack of liquid within the sac. But with that being said, so yeah, again, Foley bulb, I got to 4 centimeters. Then they broke my water. From there, if birth is not starting, then you have to go to the next route. I believe I waited about like 9 to 12 hours after the water breaking with like, there wasn't really much contractions that were back to back to show me that birth was starting. So from there, it was a decision that I didn't want to make, but I had to get the next induction ultimately because my water was breaking. The time was ticking. I didn't want them to try to rush me into a C-section. You see what I mean? So I was like, all right, Pitocin next. All right, so Pitocin is actually a medication that will artificially cause contractions back to back. It was so painful. More painful than the Foley bulb, of course, because as you're contracting, especially back to back, you're dilating. So with Pitocin, I'm just like really like in excruciating pain. I what was really getting me through it actually was the pregnancy ball, and just like rolling back and forth on that, like in my gooch area, because I could not sit down. My contractions were very painful. They were back to back. Like every minute I was having one for at least like 2 hours or 2.5 hours. And like, it was really frustrating too, because I was like, what the heck? Like, I know birth is super painful, and I know that it like could also be like a beautiful experience, but right now this is not beautiful. This is just painful. And you know, part of it could be in the mind, but at the same time I was like, wow, like if I was in a natural birth right now, I would probably be not as in excruciating pain than I am right now. So I was frustrated about that. A lot of emotions, a lot of things like going through me, like just download spiritually and physically, obviously. So man, this was the next hard decision, because I was in so much pain. And then they checked my dilation to see where I was, and they're like, oh, you're 6 centimeters. Okay, wow, that is a big progress that I honor myself for. But you have to get to 10 centimeters, and 4 more centimeters were just in my mind like unfathomable. I could not continue the degree of pain that I was in for 4 more centimeters of dilation. It just felt like forever. So with that being said, at that point I break down crying, and I'm like, man, like I have to take an epidural. Give me a fucking epidural. So I did it. And you know what? None of y'all are going to shame me for it. And you know, you shouldn't shame anybody for that anyway, but I was shaming myself, and that's why I'm even saying that. In that moment I was like, damn. But you know what? I got so far. I got to 6 centimeters, and it was like an induction that was not natural. So I was just like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, like this is super painful, and if I don't have to suffer through the rest of it, give me the epidural. So at that point I have to wait like another like 45 minutes to an hour, because there was like something in the air that just caused like 5 mothers at once on my floor to also ask for an epidural, and they were all ahead of me. So there was about like 5 people ahead of me, and 1 esthetician or whatever the person's name is. And so yeah, I waited and waited and waited and waited and waited in pain for 45 minutes, which sounds like a little bit of time, but wow, felt like a while, felt like a lifetime. So I got the epidural, and from there, wow. It was much easier from there, and I was like really grateful. And you know, I like from the outside looking in, you know, I never want to like touch prescriptions, or I never want to touch like the pharmaceuticals, however, I accept them when it comes to being in excruciating pain, because if there's something that could help you during that time to like lift the weight off in those moments, I will accept it with gratitude. And that is something that I have come to balance within my views, and not being so like hard, strict like about everything, but rather like this is a case-by-case situation. Like, this epidural is gonna help me right now. So after 6 centimeters, I believe I delivered the baby after about 5 hours or so, once the epidural was given, something like that. I can't remember, it's kind of a blur, but I know everything that happened. Just like time wise, I don't remember. It was a long time though. So yeah, okay, sorry, I'm reading my notes because there is a long birth story. Thank you for listening if you're still here. So I took the epidural, had the baby. Right before I delivered, I was pushing, and everybody was in the room. There was, not gonna lie, there was like 25 to 30 people in the room, because there's like so many people in the hospital that have different roles. and it was pretty overwhelming at first, but also at the same time they encouraged me, and I was really grateful for that. It was like every time that I had a contraction, that's when I would push. And so when I was pushing, everybody was like cheering. It was actually really exciting. It felt like, I don't know, like it felt like a soccer game. Like, yeah, go, 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 push, 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 breathe, breathe, breathe. And then they put like a mirror in front of me, so it was like really intense at that point. But I was just like, get this baby out, you know? So the baby came out nice and healthy. His name is Ocean, flowing like the ocean. And last part I forgot to mention is that right when I was about to deliver, one thing that I wish I would have done differently was be more patient with myself and not be affected by how many people were in the room and the fact that they might have been rushing me a little bit. But right when I was about to, you know, get the baby out, the baby's head, they were like, oh, we have these, I don't remember what it was called, but we have like these tools that will help you get the baby's head out quicker and smoother. Would you like to do it? Mind you, I'm like in the middle of fucking birthing, and I'm like, okay, yeah. And I was like, in that moment, obviously I just want to get the baby out, because like I was in pain. Even though I took the epidural, there's still a lot of feeling that you feel, just obviously not as intense as if you weren't to take it. So I accepted whatever that was, but also I think that is what caused me to tear, because my gooch teared, and then they had to stitch me, and my legs were still like wide open for at least like 15 minutes while the doctor was stitching me up, while I had the baby in my arms, skin to skin, which was very beautiful. I was, at that point, I was saying yes to anything that would get this baby out vaginally, because even as I was pushing, like in the middle of it too, one of the doctors was like, hey, like if we can't get this baby out within a certain amount of time, or I can't remember what she was saying, but she was saying like it's very rare once they're already this deep in the vaginal canal, but there's a chance that it could happen in C-section if you don't get it out by this blah 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 blah. Anyways, so at that point I'm just like, yes, use the tool, get him out, because I'm not having a C-section. One thing though that I will say is that there's a train coming, though, that I did appreciate about this hospital, which is Grady, by the way, Grady Hospital in Atlanta, Georgia. One thing that I did appreciate about him was that compared to my last birth, they were with me on my clear intention and want to have a vaginal birth. They were not being super pushy about a C-section. They were educating me and making me aware of the different routes that would happen if this, and that happened, just so I was aware of like the different plans that could roll out. However, at the end of the day, just so y'all are aware, hospitals do get paid more when you have a C-section. That's why the statistics today are crazy. There's a lot of C-sections happening, and most of them are unnecessary, and that's a whole different subject that I'll let you do your own research on. But I just wanted to make y'all aware, don't let them talk you into a C-section if you in your heart feel like you do not need a C-section. There is cases obviously of an emergency, but just make sure you are educating yourself and you are knowing every route that could possibly go down, because it's important. It's really important. You know, like at the end of the day, if your baby's healthy, that's all that matters. But also, if you could prevent a C-section, then prevent it. If you could, because there's just times where like you have no choice but to make sure your baby is safe. And if you feel like you're at the end of the tunnel, do what you have to do. Don't make yourself feel bad about it, because I had a lot of insecurity after my first birth, but you know what? I'm here now and I'm stronger and I have a scar on my stomach and I'm totally okay with that. I was able to breastfeed my first for 2 years, and now I am exclusively breastfeeding my second child, and I'm super grateful that I have so much abundance. But anyways, as I continue, to summarize, I just want to remind whoever is watching, whether you're watching out of curiosity or for educational purposes, this is all a journey. It is educate yourself, but also go with the flow and don't tear yourself down if it doesn't go how you plan. Because at the end of the day, God's got you. God has got you. I promise you that. No matter what happens. Okay, so next, I was going to talk just a little bit about my healing journey and my postpartum journey, and I don't want to go like super deep into it, but I would just want to like overall give you some notes of, okay, so some things that I do to maintain my health after giving birth are making sure I got a lot of rest. Making sure you are in tune. Making sure I was in tune with the fact that my body just gave birth to a full child. A whole life has been brought onto the earth because of two beings coming together and making and creating life. So with that being said, my body has some healing to do, physically, spiritually, emotionally. And just with the whole transition, there's just so much growing and learning and challenges and gratitude filled within me during this time. And it happened so quickly and so all at once. But one thing that I do, that I was doing before also, I still take primrose capsules. I think I'm saying it wrong. Something primrose capsules, which I'll put in the caption, which help for vaginal health and just like overall women's health. Also, for about 3 weeks, I was taking some Motrin, which is like very strong ibuprofen, to help me manage some pain that I was feeling because I had a lot of bleeding for at least 3 weeks after delivering, and that was because my stitches were healing up. So there was pros and cons to taking that prescription. It was definitely helping physically me not to feel the pain, but also the setbacks were, at least that I feel, that to a degree, between just my body going through everything at the hospital, between the Pitocin, between the epidural, which I'll also get into, but also the pain medication, I feel like between all those things summed up, I have some like sensations that just declined. Like, I don't feel pleasure the same way that I did before I delivered, and that has also led me to certain points of distress where it is one of the reasons that sometimes I experience postpartum depression. So which is a whole nother subject, but one of the factors is that, wow, like I'm not feeling pleasure the same. Like, I was even trying my vibrator and I'm like, bro, what the heck, like nothing's happening. And that was really like disheartening. TMI, but I just came today. Shout out to my baby. Thank you, babe. Anyways, I was really happy about it because like, man, because I know it sounds like I'm not saying anything, but I swear, like, losing sensation down there, like, they had to put a catheter in my pee hole basically during when you have an epidural, since you can't feel down there, you don't know how to pee basically. So they have to do that to suck out the urine, so that it doesn't overfill. But anyways, so yeah, one of the setbacks of the medications was I feel like it helped. It assisted in the decrease of my sensations in general. So in addition to the epidural. So the epidural also had given me a lot of back pain. at least for 2 weeks, which was part of the reason that I was also taking the pain medications. Sometimes I have like a streak of like pain in my back, which I still have not gone to a chiropractor, but I keep telling myself I'm going to. So that's another step in my actual like physical health that I'm going to tap back into. So I make sure that I am fully as healthy as I can be and feel. Another thing is I did keep my placenta. So if you give birth in a hospital, they basically tell you like, oh, you have, I think you have like, they told us we had 1 hour to get rid of the placenta, which is kind of weird. I don't know, but literally like you have to sign a waiver just to like get your own placenta, which is also weird because it's like, if you're not taking home your placenta, what are they doing with your placenta? Yeah, that's another subject also. But I kept my placenta, and I have a dehydrator that also, shout out to Kelly, she let me use. And I dehydrated my placenta. So there's different reasons that people do that. You can encapsulate it, which I did in my last birth, and I actually still have capsules that I didn't finish. But on a testimonial based reviews, some women have claimed that it helps with postpartum depression, or that it helps with also gaining back the health of your uterine area, in addition to just basically this is like a fertilizer for your body of like getting it back into balance. But with this round of placenta, I decided to just dehydrate it and whole and keep it as a piece of art, which I still have it right now. It's fully dehydrated. I have it in a Ziploc because I haven't found the right frame that I want to put it in. But I will show you in a picture right here. That's how it looked. This is how it looked when it was alive and raw. It looked like the tree of life, and I was so proud of myself. Another postpartum factor is just, I would say, like, I really had to learn about being patient with myself, because as you're healing and resting a lot, as I was saying, you can become in a same routine that gets a little bit depressing. Like just being home all the time. Like I wanted to go out for walks, and I tried to go out for walks, but I would just start bleeding even more. And my the doctors were saying that you're not supposed to do heavy exercises or heavy lifting while you're healing. And so yeah, I just decided, I'm like, all right, I'll just stay in. But it was hard to get into a balanced cycle where I didn't feel like, oh my gosh, I am home too much right now. Like, it was just depressing. But I'm doing a lot better now. I'm outside again, I'm breathing the fresh air, and I'm just grateful for life. You know, I do have my moments where postpartum is still a challenge, for many different reasons, which just come with the transition of motherhood and rejoining the idea of bringing another life into the world. It's a lot. I'm gonna tell you, and I'm gonna tell you too. Like, man, if you're not ready to become a parent, and if you have the choice to plan it, don't do it if you're not ready. Because, you know, like, I'm here and I'm super grateful to be a mother. I am super grateful to be a mother. But I will be honest with myself. I was not ready. It is a big responsibility. And so when you have a child or children, when you're not ready, then you're just like forced to get ready. Like, get ready. Here it is. It's happening. It's reality. What are you going to do about it? And so that pushes you to grow also. It pushes you to grow. It challenges you to grow. It also reminds you, like, wow, you have such a profound responsibility that you need to get your shit together. You have no choice but to get your shit together. Anyways, another, so I just got my period like 2 days ago, and I am postpartum currently, about a month and a half now. So that's 6 weeks later, getting my period, and yeah, I feel great. Yesterday I was super emotional, but you know, that's usually how my periods are. I don't get cramps, and I don't get like headaches or anything. I really just get emotional. That's how I get. Anyways, Thank you so much for listening, and bye. Thank y'all so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for future videos related to motherhood, baby, and plant-based cooking, as well as check out the description below for more details on greatness. Bye.